It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. Know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 296. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. I bet that's a voice people weren't expecting to hear this week. So
I won't be here long.
she won't be here. Well, on the show.
On the show.
Just to be clear.
I will survive.
Yes. Yes. Like Gloria Gaynor, or for our younger listeners, Cake.
Even younger, babe. The Cake. Yeah, no. Nobody knows the Cake
I
version.
know. But yeah, the Cake song's 30 years old.
Yeah.
But, we also will have a guest host. I'm going to introduce her so she knows that she can start talking.
Yes.
She's doing that thing where the guests sit there and they're like, can I talk? Can I not talk? I don't know. What are the rules? What's the etiquette? So I'm still doing this because I just know it irritates her. But joining us via the magic of ZoomTube is Gina Mitchell. Hey, Gina. How you doing?
Hi, Gina.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my God. Thank you for doing this.
So Gina's a longtime listener and supporter of the show and friend of the show.
Yes.
And we actually hung out with her when we were in Philly.
Yes.
And so she's kind enough to sit in while Crystal exits.
I'm gonna waddle back upstairs and let
Yes.
you guys have it.
So but before we dig into everything, we figured people would like to hear the story firsthand.
Yeah.
And so here we are.
So I was running, and I was running outside my house along Big Bend like I do.
It was a 60-degree day in January.
I was like, I want to take advantage of
February.
this nice weather. I had done it the day before. I had done like a lot of miles outside the day before. I'd done like 7 miles, almost 7 miles outside, same route. And today was only going to be like a little shakeout run. Like it was 45 minutes. I was out and back in a mile and a half. So I'm coming up on the mile, and I can tell that I'm almost to the mile marker because I've run this route a million times. And crossing through an intersection, which there are a lot of. And for anybody who's familiar with St. Louis, New Baldwin, where it crosses Big Bend, is where it happened. And there's like 3 sections to the intersection. And I went across the middle one, and I looked over my shoulder. Nobody was coming. Actually, 2 cars were coming, but I let them go. Like they were making a left in front of me, so I let them go. And then I looked ahead. Nobody was coming, and they would be turning right toward me. So nobody was there. So I took off running, and next thing you know, I woke up in the middle of the street, and I was very confused. And like the movies, it was the weirdest thing because they always do that sound in movies where they like tell you like a big explosion's taking place, and it's like,
yeah, it's like real. It's just and then the sound starts slowly.
That is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
That is exactly what happened. And people like started populating in front of me. I have no idea who any of these people were. I saw hair color. I saw sizes. Like I know their shapes, but I don't know what their faces looked like. They are not there. They're not in my brain. They're just gone. But I do remember that there was a teenage girl who was standing there above me, and she was screaming hysterically. And I figured out later that's because she had just hit me.
She's the culprit.
Yes. And she was driving an SUV. She had just gotten her driver's license. And she didn't see me. I don't know how. I don't know what happened. I didn't talk to her because I was not in a good place.
And if you had talked to her, it would have been nonsensical, or you wouldn't remember it.
Facts. This nice couple was there. I picked up my phone. My phone was in my right pocket. I was wearing a brand new set of Beyond Yoga with pockets. I'm upset about that because they got cut off. And I took my phone out of my pocket, and it was destroyed, like absolutely destroyed. And actually, it may have like kept me from breaking a bone because it was right on my thigh bone, right where it hit.
We think that's where the car hit her
because it's really bruised right there.
Some of the impact her phone is not only is the screen shattered, but it's like wavy now.
Yeah. I didn't even know phones could make that shape. I don't think it's supposed to.
No, clearly it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, unlikely.
And then this couple came up, and they were talking to me, and they were making sure I was okay. And I couldn't use my phone. I knew I needed to call Tom. Like I didn't know what had happened, and I didn't know how bad it was, but I knew I needed to call Tom, and my phone was dead. And luckily I remembered the phone number. And then
Which
apparently,
amazes me that in that state you could, because who remembers phone numbers anymore?
I know.
Nobody.
Yours was the only number I had in there.
Yeah.
But I remember that, like,
Better be.
don't make me laugh too hard.
That's my only skill.
I remember telling you, like, I just got hit by a car. I'm okay.
So I'm on my way to work. We had a huge show at the Family Arena that day. It was going to do like estimated to do 7,000 to 9,000 people, which were a mid-size arena. So that's capacity. And so I'm on my way to work and I see a call from a number I don't recognize, but I'm like, it's a Sunday afternoon. Like I think the telemarketers took the day off. So I answer it and it's her. And she's like, I'm okay, but I just got hit by a car. She sounds as calm can be. And so I thought she was just calling it first to vent, like, these sons of bitches can't drive. And then I was like, why are you venting on someone else's phone? Like that? See, that's a red flag, right? And
then the guy took the phone from me.
because I'm trying to ask her, I'm like, do you need me to come to you? Like,
It was the right call for him to take the phone from me
Yeah.
because I had no idea how to make any calls at that point. Like, I was just like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, because I was supposed to run the show that day. So I'm like, do you need me to leave? Is that what you're saying? And she was like, I don't know. Like, she's kind of waffling. And I'm just like, this feels like a test, right? Like this, like, like, am I supposed to? And so then one of the couple grabs the phone and they're like, yeah, you need to come here now. And I'm like, okay, cool. I will do that. But now I've got a essentially sold out concert and I'm stuck in concert traffic. So, but luckily I got juice in this town. And so the cops stopped traffic so I could
Do a quick exit.
get the hell out of
Look
there.
at that.
And Sydney and Brian go to the crime scene where I was
Yeah.
hit. And they saw me. They didn't see me, but they saw the ambulance with me in it leaving. And I remember being like, I was telling the cop, because there was a cop standing behind me. I just know he was a cop. I don't know anything about what he looks like. And he was like, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm really tired. I want to lay down. And he was like, nope. You don't do that. Like, talk to me. And he started asking all kinds of questions. And next thing I know, I was on one of those boards and they were in the ambulance. And the lady in the ambulance was super nice to me. And she was like, okay, so I'm going to take off all your jewelry because they're going to give you a bunch of fluids and you're going to get swollen. You're not going to be able to wear it. So I was like, okay. And then I was like, am I going to be okay? And she was like, we're going to do our best.
No,
That's
that
what
was
she
not
said.
the answer she gave you.
That was what she said. And I started bawling because I thought I was dying. And then at some point, I don't remember when, they cut my clothes off and part of it was in the ambulance and part of it was in the room. They took me right into the MRI. And at some point I got feedback from the scene that like the lady, the teenage girl, she was going like 35 miles an hour in this SUV and hit me and didn't see me. And I flew through the air and I landed on the left side of my head, and then slid across the pavement. And so honestly, the thing that hurts the most is the road rash. It's from my left shoulder all the way down past my butt.
Like all the way down below her butt. It's like it's like 3/4 of her body.
And it hurts. I've never had road rash. Don't recommend. I'm going to give that 0 out of 5.
Yes.
Yeah. And also I have a broken clavicle, which it just is annoying. I can't move, but it doesn't, they said it was a very clean break. I don't even have to like wear a sling unless I'm out and about. Just can't put pressure on it. And they said it'll heal by itself. And they're telling me that like I'll be back to running in no time, which feels really hard to believe at the moment.
The doctors in the ER were like, she was like, oh, I'm training for Big Sur in the end of April. And they're like, yeah, you'll be fine. You might have to walk it, but you should be able to do that by then. Mm-hmm. Like,
wow.
They were shocked I had no bleeding on the brain.
Yes.
And
we all were shocked.
Yes.
Honestly, like she's lucky to be alive.
I am.
No, that's not hyperbole. Like from what we understand, like she got hit, she went airborne, she slid across on her head. Like, I mean, the fact every doctor that walked in there, and I think there was 3 for different purposes.
Yeah.
And were like, every one of them was like, I can't believe that your injuries aren't greater than they are.
Yep.
And they all seem to concur that it was because she works out so much.
They did. They said that I was in good shape and that had a lot to do with it. And I thought, well, my dad's been telling me I'm hard-headed my whole life, and I think I just proved it. So
Wow.
So that's the story. And people have been amazing. Tom has been sharing all the messages that people have been sending.
And our behind the scenes team that's
oh
been
my
helping
God,
out.
Nikki and Darcy they've been keeping the socials going.
Yes.
And I don't even know what I would have done without them because I didn't have a phone. It was completely trashed. And they also told me I couldn't be on screens because I do have a concussion. So I'm not supposed to be spending a lot of time doing stuff. So everybody has just sent so much love and I can feel it. I can feel everybody's well wishes. And I really, truly feel, I do feel like I'm lucky to be alive. And I probably am going to stick to the roads no more, going to just parks from now on.
Yeah.
Parks in my tread.
Parks and Tread.
That's it.
Yeah.
Closed
Starring
roads only.
Parks and Tread, starring Amy Poehler, and Nick Offerman. So we should also say, because we were cataloging your maladies,
Yes.
that you also had some damage to your back.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about those. Yeah. I have a bunch of cracks in my spine. But they said it's like on the pieces, like the nodules that hold it together on the outsides, not the inside. And they said that it'll just heal on itself. It's totally fine.
They weren't like super worried about it.
Not at all.
She didn't need a back brace or anything, but she did have a some back bones break, which sounds like when they say that it is like the what? And then
Yeah.
they're like, oh, it's no big deal. And you're like, but that's not what comes after you broke bones in your back.
Yeah,
So,
like I have no idea how I flew through the air and didn't do more damage. I really don't. I mean, no bleeding on the brain, no major broken bones, no. I mean, really, it's just I got to move really slow and stay off of screens and just be careful. I mean, that's it. I don't even know how I got so lucky. I don't, but I am. And hopefully it all continues to stay down that trajectory. I mean, I have to go to physical therapy, so things could change. You know, they could be like, oh, well, now you have this problem. But for now, that's the major stuff. And
yeah.
so.
And let me show you, Gina, what I walked into in the ER. Are you comfortable with these sorts of?
Are you going to
I
freak
work
her
in
out?
healthcare. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right, well, for anybody watching.
Yes, for anyone on the YouTube channel, these were the pictures. We have not shared these on the internet.
So be careful.
Yeah, but
Turn away if you don't like scary stuff.
If blood bothers you, this is a good place to skip ahead. There you go.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I
Crystal.
came into in the ER, and she was pretty loopy,
I was.
which stands to reason. But yeah, so or if you're listening to the show and you want to hear it, now's a good time to check out our YouTube channel. We're getting great content over there. Thanks, Crystal.
Oh yeah, I forgot about my ear. Part of my ear got torn off too, so they had to sew that back on. It was just a little cartilage. It's 3 cuts. I'd move my hair, but it takes way too much effort. But
Yeah.
they had to sew it up. It was like over 20 stitches that they had to put in my ear. But again, could have been way worse. So
Yeah, you know it's bad when you're like, oh, I forgot about the part where part of my ear got torn off.
yeah.
And she's delivering it so matter-of-factly. Like, I grabbed a coffee, part of my ear got torn off,
Yeah.
and then I had a sandwich.
She's like, I'm starting
Very
an
casual.
I'm starting an Evander Holyfield tribute band. If anyone wants to join me.
You have to stop making me laugh.
But she's been taking it very easy the last couple days. So
Yeah. This is the most activity I've had.
Yeah,
Well, I
so
did get
it's
my
like-
hair washed last night. I did get to wash all the blood out of my hair, which was amazing. Highly recommend.
Okay.
I've been doing my part. So like, in order to help her out, like, she'll put the clothes in the washer, but I'll take them out.
No.
So
no, I haven't touched the
Wow,
washer.
Tom.
Yeah.
He's underselling it. He has waited on me hand and foot. Like, honestly, every little thing I've needed, he has done for me, and he's been great. The kids have been great, and people have sent flowers, and thank you for the flowers, and thank you to Jen's men for the lovely.
Yeah.
Like, they sent food and a blanket and like
What I did not tell her, it was this package of stuff that came prepackaged. I forget the company, but it came with soup and blankets and cookies and rolls and like a little stuff thing that you could heat up.
it's a warmie.
Yeah.
Aw.
And so what it came with that I didn't tell her is it came with a bell. Because I was like, look, I don't mind doing things for you, but I'll be goddamned if you're going to ring a bell every time you want me. I'm
He had to draw the line
I'm
somewhere.
like, that is a bridge too far. I've got no problem doing the things, but I will not be summoned like Beetlejuice. So.
I
I think that's reasonable.
do too. I do too.
But yeah, so hopefully tonight we're going to try seeing if she can sleep. She's been sleeping in a recliner, so
Yeah.
we're hoping that tonight maybe she can get back into a bed.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but
But I am actually getting kind of tired, so I'm going to go back
Okay.
up.
So we are now going to take a pause.
Thank you for doing this, Gina.
Sorry. Yes, thank you so much.
Crystal, I'm happy to help. I'm so glad you're okay. And you've been asking me for years to be on the podcast. You did not have to get hit by a car to get me here.
I mean, facts are that I did, though, because I asked a lot of times and you said no. This is the only time you said yes.
Based on results. And
okay.
She even said, do you think if I got hit by a car, would Gina be on the show? And I was like, you might want to make an SUV because she's going to start being like, was it a compact? Was it a mid-size?
Right.
Like, you know how Gina can be. So I was like, let's just go. Originally, I was like, what about a truck? And then she's like, that might, yeah, she might have to be a permanent co-host.
Right.
Point taken. So we
all right. Well, that's fair.
Yes. Marriage is about compromise.
I guess it did take that. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
So
well, thank you, Gina.
We're going to stop. We're going to take a pause. And I will help her get back up the stairs. And then through the magic of editing, we will resume as if nothing has occurred for the listeners.
All right.
So ta-da, I'm back, sans Crystal. And she made it safely up the stairs. So that's good. Which is
glad to hear it.
Which is why I'm back. If not, you've been sitting here for like 45 minutes. Like, what's going on? So this is the point of the show where I ask you, hey, what's coming up on the show? Tell us, Gina. She's like, oh,
well, there's
crap.
a ton of news. No, I prepped. I'm ready. There's a ton of news. We're talking about the Century shirts being discontinued and a review on the guide. There's some new stuff happening with apparel, lots of instructor news. And of course, you'll still have segments with Dr. Jen Mann. And there's more. But that's as ready as I am. That's
more ready than I am, so it's fine. Yeah, it's funny because what you got for show notes is not what they normally look like. So just a little peek behind the scenes for people. So the show notes we got, the topics. Crystal normally picks the topics. I put them in order of like how I think they should run. Right. So this week she couldn't do that because her screen time was limited. She didn't even have a phone. So Nikki and Darcy, the aforementioned Nikki and Darcy, they picked the topics this week and they did a great job. But they like put it in a Google Doc and they have all these like sub points and A and B, and then A has two things under A. Like they did all that. So how Crystal and I do it and is like, she just gives me links. Like, here's the story, here's the story, here's the story, just Instagram and Facebook links. And then I put them in order and write the show notes. And so the work they did was great and it was super helpful. I'm not disparaging it in any way. I'm just pointing out that all of those things, that's in Crystal's head. Like, so we don't outline it because I just riff on it on the fly for the most part. And so she does all that in her head with no notes of any kind. Just like, oh, the Century shirt story. Got it. And then she'll start talking. So,
well, that is impressive because there are several pages of single space notes.
It's 4 pages of So anyway, just some insight into what all Crystal does. So
that's impressive.
So before we move on, shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find a podcast. You can find us while you're there. Be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave a review. That's always helpful and appreciated. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group. Of course, you can find us on YouTube. You can watch these if you want to see the gross pictures of Crystal. They'll be in this episode over on YouTube, youtube.com/theclipout. Don't forget our Patreon, patreon.com/theclipout, where you can get these episodes ad-free. And if they come out early, we send them to you early. And we were going to record a bonus episode on Sunday, and then someone got hit by a car. So, I think that's everything. So let's dig in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Peloton in the news.
So Peloton announced this week that the Century shirt is no more, and people lost their ever-loving shit.
I think that was to be expected. I can't say I was surprised by the news.
It's a sad tradition to see end. I think it's a tradition they wish they'd never started. At the beginning, I think it did them a lot of good. I think it became kind of the bane of their existence. Like, people, they didn't send them out fast enough, and then the shirt didn't live up to the hype, whatever hype you could possibly have around a t-shirt. But yeah, so I mean, I understand why people are upset, but I'm also like, most of the people that are upset, like, you already got your shirt? Like, there's a handful of people that are still in the middle. You have until March 15th to hit your 100 rides in order to get your shirt.
Yeah, I appreciate that they gave notice. I do think, to your point, the people that I've seen that are a little up in arms have been Peloton community members for several years. So that's a bit of a head scratcher. It had to have been such a burden for them. If you think about the inventory and the sizing and the shipping and all the stuff that goes into it, I'm not surprised. I'm happy they're giving people notice. So if you are getting close to your 100 rides, or even if you just started but you really want that shirt, you've got till March 15th.
Yeah, take a lot of 10-minute rides.
That's one way to do
get
it.
your shirt.
More than one person has done that.
Yeah, I have no doubt. So
that is a common strategy.
So maybe you'll know this, maybe you won't. So is it like one per address, or if you have different sub accounts, can each person, like if I were to magically go in and start a Peloton account, this is very hypothetical and not going to happen. Like, could I also get a shirt even though Crystal has a shirt, or is it just one per paid membership?
No, my understanding is that it's one per username, but it really is one. So you can get it for doing 100 runs or 100 rides, but you can't get it twice.
Right.
It's one per user.
So Crystal can only get it one, but Tom's not going to do it, could also get one, theoretically.
Or Tom could do it and get one.
No,
That's right.
He's not going to do it.
I've been trying to get you to ride for years. I should give up, but I won't.
Everyone else, but
I know.
But I'm certainly not going to. I'm not going to do it for a T-shirt. I got
fair enough.
I got plenty of T-shirts. So
yeah, I respect your commitment.
But it also says that this apparel, it will be available for purchase. But there's another little interesting thing kind of buried in the text here. It says, going forward, we'll continue to offer Century Club shirts and other milestone apparel for purchase through our store. So I'm interested to see what the other, because up till now, it's just been a shirt, right? It's just been the Century shirt.
I feel like there was a time many years ago where they did have a bracelet that had a 1K, like
charm
on it. Yeah. I feel like that existed. I mean, maybe that was a fever dream. I don't know. But I do feel like that existed. That's what came to mind whenever I read this, was having little accessories like that. That's been something the community's been asking for years, or more things to celebrate the many, many, many milestones that they have. So in a way, it does seem like Peloton's answering that common request. And I'll be interested to see how much they sell the shirts for. I checked the apparel store and I couldn't find it on there yet.
Interesting. Well, I guess because until it used to be, I don't know if it's still like this, but it used to be on the apparel, on the milestone shirt, wasn't it like $100,000 if you added it to your cart? Like, because the only way to get it was to achieve it, so they put a ridiculous price on it, so you couldn't.
Yes, and then they gave you a code
that
would bring it down to free. But many, many years ago, it was about 5 years ago now, a guy accidentally didn't put his code in and his card got charged, is how the lore goes. He was very angry on the Peloton member page.
I'm skeptical. Like,
I'm a little skeptical myself.
Maybe I'm just too Midwestern middle class, but I'm like, you've got a credit card with $100,000 limit on it. Like, I know they're out there, but there's not many.
Sure.
One wouldn't.
Certainly wouldn't belong to me.
No, nor me, or us combined. Even if we chipped in, like, ain't gonna happen.
I will be interested to see if they improve the quality of these shirts when they start selling them, because that's been a really common complaint, is that they work for the shirt, they get it, they wash it, and it disintegrates.
For sure. You would think if they're going to charge you for it, then go ahead and get a good one, since it's not coming out of their pocket.
Right. I would think so.
And maybe now it won't be unisex too, right? Like, because that's always been one of the complaints. It's just a T-shirt, one size fits. I mean, there's sizes, but there aren't different cuts.
Right. Yeah, maybe. It'll be interesting to see, but we've got another month and change to find out.
So the new class schedule started. I have this up because for the YouTube viewers, because Callie Gullickson was talking about it on the gram.
I was wondering why you had Callie up on for the viewers, because I wasn't connecting the dots there. But there is a new schedule. And, last week, Crystal said that she really felt like the schedule needed that 6 o'clock anchor spot in the morning. Uh-huh. And they're delivering. They're delivering on that. I don't know if it's 5 days a week, but they have put in the 6 a.m. East Coast back onto the schedule. which I appreciate.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Like, so many people love that slot. I mean, one of the first groups I really remember people discussing back in the day was the 6 a.m. crew or whatever it was called, right? And so
that's a great memory.
Yeah. So clearly people wanted that.
Yes. And there's some other changes that are coming up. A 9 p.m. Eastern live ride that is starting next week. That's with Kendall. That's a little late for me, but I know some people enjoy those late night rides, and I'm sure that our friends on the West Coast will really enjoy it.
Exactly. I was like, for some people, that's not so late.
Right. I'm in Philadelphia, I should mention, so East Coast appeals to me.
We're in flyover country, so.
Right. The next thing on the schedule that I was a little bit confused about, and, you know, Krista would certainly be a much better person to speak to this because she's always so on top of things. But this live boot camp thing, they say live boot camps are back on the schedule. It's going to be every single Tuesday. But then the caption reads, we're going to be live every Tuesday, but sometimes they'll be pre-recorded. So time will tell if they are actually going to be live every Tuesday or if it'll just be new content delivered at that same time every Tuesday.
Gotcha. Anything else? There's live midday rows.
You know what? I did not even see that.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a rower.
Right. And it's funny because someone actually, and I forget your name, I'm sorry because I'm not Crystal, but someone on our Facebook page, I think it was, pointed out that when Nikki and Darcy had posted the class schedule, they were like, there's also a row. And they were both like, we don't have a rower, so we wouldn't know that. And so I think that got added a little later, which is why you weren't aware. But someone had to point it out to us too, where if Crystal was up and running,
she'd be all over it.
She'd be all over it.
Absolutely.
So Australian users got this message on their machines this morning. I guess this evening for us, this morning for them. I don't know. But I don't know how time. I don't know how that works. Yeah, but they got this message when they hopped on their bikes or treads that they are celebrating Pride 365. It says to celebrate Pride in Sydney in 2023, we're championing individuality and diversity of the LGBTQIA plus identities and stories. And I know the user that sent it to us was super excited because they said this is the first time they've really seen something just for Australia in their feed and on their bike.
That's a great call out. And I think, you know, they've talked about how they want to keep expanding their international presence. And so it makes sense to give them some specific content. I love that it's Pride. Peloton has a strong history of supporting Pride here in the US and in the UK and now in Australia. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And if people are wondering, because I was wondering, I'm like, I thought Pride was in June, but I could be wrong. I'm straight. Spoiler alert. But so apparently there's a thing called World Pride, and it happens every 2 years, and it's a biannual event, which makes sense, right? It's biannual.
It does.
And
walked into it.
Yeah. And so and it moves around the globe every 2 years, and this year it's in Sydney, Australia. So that, I think that's part of what they're tying into. And also, if you're wondering what's going on, Pride is in June. This is why you're seeing this for Australian users in February, because it runs, I think, February 17th through like March something or other. So.
Oh, I thought it had something to do with that time thing. Like they're on the other side of the world.
It's
not June. It's whatever.
When they flush their toilets, it goes counterclockwise. Yeah, totally.
Right, exactly. Yeah, World Pride was in New York a few years ago, and Peloton actually did some cool stuff around that, I remember. So,
yeah, it says it's been in New York, Rome, London, and Toronto.
All right. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah. So Tom's Guide, which is not affiliated with me, just to be clear, reviewed the Peloton Guide.
Yeah, and when I read this headline, my brain turned off for a minute because I did think it had something to do with you. And I was trying to make sense of why do you have a guide? Why are you writing a guide? And then the overall positive review they gave, this quote sounds like something you would say. Turn your TV into a PT with this clever little device. And I could hear you saying it. So I was very confused. But overall, they did give the Peloton Guide a really great review. I thought it was really interesting, though. They said that they thought it was really great for beginners. for beginners into workouts or beginners just into the Peloton universe. And I thought that was really interesting because I know a lot of people that have the guide who are really experienced, including Crystal, who love it and think it's a great compliment. So I don't know that it's only for beginners, as the review sort of implies.
Yeah, I feel like that Crystal has it. She doesn't use it tons. And I think the review makes a good point that, like, for people that already have a bike or a tread, it doesn't offer a whole lot that you can't already do with a bike or a tread, right? And so it's also, I think a lot of people bought it just because they're Peloton nerds and they got to have all the things, and the price point was cheap enough, so they're like, sure, why not, you know? But I also think it could work in the other end of the spectrum of people that are maybe app users. They're looking to level up, but they don't necessarily want to drop, you know, $1,500 on a bike or $3,000 on a tread, whatever it's going for these days. And so it's a good way to kind of dip your toe into the water of Peloton equipment without actually plunking down 4 figures, you know?
Right. Or finding space in your house for it. The guide takes up very little space, is my understanding. Fun fact, I did buy it. I was one of the Peloton nerds you referred to. It's still in the box. And I bought that thing on Prime Day. So maybe I'll try it. Maybe after reading your guide, I'll try it.
You'll finally cave.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm glad I could convince you.
Job well done.
So Chase Sapphire card has had all sorts of Peloton promotions, and they have re-upped their agreement through 2025.
That's a long time to re-up the agreement.
That is, yeah.
But they have been doing it for a few years, so I have to imagine it's been mutually beneficial for the both of them, for them to go ahead and extend it like this.
That would be my guess.
Yeah, it is cool that you can get bonus points whenever you purchase the equipment. And there's been some sales lately, so you could even double up. Get the equipment on sale, use your Sapphire card, win-win. Get your 100 rides before March 15th, get a free t-shirt out of it.
Look at that. You got it all figured out.
I do.
You're like
I don't have the credit card. I have the equipment. I don't need another t-shirt, so I can't take advantage of it. But somebody listening can. Someone can.
You should return your guide and repurchase it, and then
there we go. That's one way to do it.
Off to the races.
That's right.
So Peloton is hiring, which is interesting because by and large, it seems like a hiring freeze has been in place, but they are looking for a product manager for games, which seems to indicate that they must like the feedback and engagement they're getting from Lane Break, right?
I would think so. I thought this was really cool when I saw it on the list because Lane Break is a really cool experience. I think that a lot of people were skeptical when Peloton announced that they were going to dip their toes in this direction, but it's been a huge success. Everyone I know who's tried it loves it. I tried it, loved it. It was way harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought, oh, okay, we'll play a game. It'll be a nice, easy ride. It was not a nice, easy ride. It was really, really difficult. And I think especially for people with that little bit of competitive fire in them, it's a really great way to mix up your routine. So I will be very excited to see what they come up with next, because this doesn't sound like it's a replacement role. It sounds like they're looking for somebody to develop new games for them.
Yeah, exactly. So it seems like they don't want Lane Break to be the only gamification aspect that they have. So I've always wondered if you'd see any sort of movement towards, you know, how you have artist series now, will you see any sort of crossovers either with other video games or other IPs in general? You know, like I've always thought, I know, who was it? Was it Echelon that did something with Jungle Cruise when it came out? And which seemed weird at the time that they would do like something like that.
Well, but they do a lot of things we think are weird, don't they?
Touche. But like I was like, oh, how cool would it be if you could do like a scenic row, but it's Jungle Cruise, right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder if you'll see something like that with other IPs, like so they can start cross promoting with movies or TV shows instead of just musical artists.
I think that sounds like a really great opportunity for them. I also want to see games hit the other platforms. I'd love to be able to do something on my tread to switch it up.
Yeah, I wonder how you would do that. I wonder what you would, because you also got to think you have to be careful about doing anything that might distract somebody while they're on a tread in a way that you don't have to worry about that on a bike.
Sure, that is true. But I'm not applying for this job, so I don't have to problem
Yeah,
solve
you're
it.
like, look, I'm an ideas person.
Right.
So,
I'm an ideas person.
right.
I'm not the executor over
You're
here.
like,
They can
recreate
figure that
Super
out.
Mario Brothers and make them jump and hit boxes and...
That's what I was thinking. My kids are really into Sonic the Hedgehog. Can
Yeah.
I run and jump to grab a coin? I don't know. Maybe.
Recreate OK Go videos. If they get hurt, that's your problem to figure out how to solve that. Product manager games.
That's exactly right. So if you're applying for this role, be ready. Be ready for that. That's my suggestion.
Peloton Stock Ticker.
So we're still seeing articles from last week about last week's earnings call. Forbes has kind of a backhanded compliment of an article talking about Peloton. Stock has more upside despite struggling equipment business. And that, what do they say? That their outlook is marginally positive?
Yeah, and they made sure also to point out how down it is from peak pandemic days still, which we know, but it was nice to see the tide turning a little bit. It was nice to see that stock going up and to start to feel like, okay, these changes that they're making are doing something over here.
For sure. And look, I mean, obviously, I think a lot of places have been setting the stock target now at around $19, which is great because it had been living in about in that $7 to $8 range. And obviously, you want to see it get back to IPO levels and above. But I think you also need to make your peace with the fact that 170 was pandemic driven. And it's like, if that's your metric for success, this company will always be a failure to you. Like they're just not going to get back to 170.
That's absolutely right. And when the IPO was issued, I believe it was a $21.
Was it 21 or 29?
I don't know.
I thought for some reason in my head I have 29, but I don't remember. But it was in the 20s.
Whatever it is, we are getting closer
for sure
to that and away from the $5-6 range, which is good.
Yes, we don't want to get down delisted or made a penny stock. That's for sure.
Right.
And I can say we because we bought some.
You can definitely say we then.
So, and then while we're talking about stock stuff, Motley Fool had an article about where will Peloton stock be in 1 year. It's interesting they still call it Peloton Interactive. Does anybody else call it that?
Yeah. So, I'm in marketing, Tom. And when I read this article, I just saw an SEO strategy all over it. This article has a lot of words and says absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's kind of Motley Fool's business model.
Yeah.
And we've bagged on them for years about how they'll a lot of times they'll do two articles that say totally different things in very close proximity to each other.
Yes, that's right. So they kind of covered all grounds here. They give you a whole history lesson on Peloton and everything just to make sure that when you're searching, you find this blog post. But yeah, if you're interested, it's there. I'm sure the link will be in the newsletter.
God, I hate how they write articles like that now. How it's like I get a lot of Disney stuff sent to me in my feed about the theme parks, and like everyone, it's like as soon as I start reading, I'll just scroll past like literally like the first 5 paragraphs because it's like Disney World was founded in 1971, and I'm like, I know that.
Have you ever tried to find a recipe online?
No, I don't cook or to eat adventurously.
So don't. You're good. Good for you. If you look up a basic recipe for the most basic meal you can think of, you will have to read about the summers the blog writer spent with her grandmother in Connecticut and a special coat that she wore. It's pages and pages and pages. And finally they're like, and it only 2 ingredients in 20 minutes. It takes you longer to read the story behind the recipe than it does for you to actually cook the meal. It's infuriating.
And then finally they're like, so here's how you make scrambled eggs.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yes.
And that is what this Motley Fool article reminded me of.
Yeah, I get that. So coming up after the break, Dr. Jen is going to talk to us about dealing with a chaotic schedule.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jen.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Jen Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couples Therapy with Dr. Jen, or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jen, or her long-running radio show, The Dr. Jen Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including The Relationship Fix, Dr. Jen's 6-Step Guide to Improving Communication, Connection, and Intimacy, it's Dr. Jen. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, we have one from May Serkoff.
Do we catch you off guard?
No, I had something I was going to say, and then it just like went away. I was going to say something about your intro there, and then it was gone.
Gotcha.
That's 44. Chalk it up to my age.
It's going to get worse before it gets better. And
I know.
It's not going to get better.
Thanks, Tom.
No problem.
All right. So May has been on the show before, Dr. Jen, and I don't know if you've ever heard us talk about her, but she's one of Peloton's older riders. She's had an amazing life. She's been everywhere. She's done everything, and she's super fun. But she has been around Peloton for a long time, and so she is trying to make the best of the chaotic scheduling, her words. She finds that without consistency, she's getting bored. She's given up hope with the pro cyclists coming back and bumbling along. Like she is bumbling along. She's trying to find a new place, and it's really a struggle for her.
Okay. Well, look, first of all, I would recommend that she meet with someone like a trainer or someone who knows about it and is also a Peloton person, like Crystal, for example, to do a consultation, so that you can sit down with someone to really look through and say, okay, let's try something different, and really help you put together an actual schedule that's different than what you've been doing, that also will kind of say like, hey, why don't you try a shadow boxing class? Or like, hey, how about Pilates? Or what about this dance class? Like there are all of these classes that a lot of the sort of regulars don't necessarily do. And I know when I've kind of gotten into a bit of a bind where I'm like, oh, I'm just kind of doing the same stuff over and over again. When I meet with the person who I meet with on a regular basis, every once in a while they'll be like, well, what about this? What about instead of doing strength, do strength for runners? And even though it's a simple change, it feels so different and it feels refreshing, and it's really positive.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, definitely. I agree with that. And I know May has done a lot of Power Zone training, and she likes the Power Zone training. She likes the, getting up at 6 a.m. We all used to have that 6 a.m. the live rides. So I think that's part of what's tough is there's not as many live rides. So I definitely think mixing it up and trying out some different classes that might be live in the morning might be a good idea. They do have those strength roll calls every morning at 6:30 Eastern. So that might be something for her.
For sure. Shake it up.
For now.
Yeah. Oh, Tom.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
Why?
I'm just saying that's part of people's frustration,
No,
though,
it
right?
is,
Like
it is.
you get used to a rhythm, and then they disrupt it.
They do.
Yeah.
But also the people, the instructors have to have changes too. Like
Right.
not everybody likes to get up at, 4 o'clock in the morning to teach a class. So I
Or
know.
to take a class. Not a chance.
Oh, I know.
You know me well at this point.
Too funny. But May, I hope that helps in some way. And let us know if maybe you found something new. We'd love to hear about it.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for all that. Until next time, where can people find you?
At Dr. Jen Mann on all social media, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Mann.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Instructors in the news.
So Matt Wilpers got married over the weekend in Nicaragua.
He did, and it looked so beautiful and so fun. There were so many instructors there. You're showing the video now that Cody Rigsby was the flower girl.
Yes.
He had nice floral pants on. He made a nice production of sprinkling the flowers everywhere, and seems like he was a really big hit as he came down the aisle with his little basket. I would expect nothing less. Cody's always a hit.
That is true. I guess they must have asked him to do that. How do you think he offered, or do you think, because you can't just go to a grown man and be like, do you want to be our flower girl? We're going to spell it with a U. It'll be funny.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. I also don't think that a grown man can go to his buddy and be like, can I please be your flower girl at your wedding?
think
That's
Cody
really
Rigsby
imposing. I don't know. He had to have been asked. But I'll tell you what delighted me is you don't really think that I can't talk now. Cody and Matt are not two people who I really tie together. They have very different styles. So I just thought that was so cool to see him that involved. in the wedding.
It's the buddy cop movie you didn't know you wanted.
Right, and now I want it.
Yes.
Maybe that's what he was filming last week.
Oh, now
Yes.
could be onto something.
You like that? You like that callback there,
I do.
Tom?
Thanks for listening. It's funny with him being the flower girl. Somewhere I picture like a 7-year-old girl sitting there with her arms crossed at the wedding, like, well, I could be doing this. That's my job. We're taking my job for.
Should have been me. That's
Yes.
right. It seemed like all the instructors were really involved in the wedding, though. I saw a video that I think it was Emma Lovewell who posted it, but it was her, Allie, Hannah Corbin, some other people, I'm sorry. But they said when the caption said something along the lines of, when the groom asks you to learn choreography for his wedding, you learn the choreography. And they must have put on a whole production there, those Peloton instructors.
Yeah, it's the full list of attendees, of instructor attendees, include Dennis Morton, Adrian Williams, Allie Love, Olivia Amato, Kristen McGee, Hannah Corbin, Alex Toussaint, Hannah Frankson, Cody, obviously, Emma Lovewell, Christine Deorkele, Tunde, and Jessem. So it was a full house for Matt Wilpers.
It sure was. And it's a good thing they've grown their instructor roster, because there was a time that list would have shut the entire Peloton studio down.
No kidding. Yeah. Especially with them launching their new schedule.
It looked like they had a great time, though. It looked absolutely beautiful. And congratulations to Matt and his new wife.
So, and I know nothing about his wife. Maybe you don't either. Is she from Nicaragua? Is that, like, why did they pick Nicaragua? Do we know?
So I know that they got engaged there.
Okay.
But I do not know anything about her aside from that.
Well, then we will let you off the hook.
Thank you.
And not to be outdone with wedding news, Marcel Maurer, I hope I'm saying that right, got engaged.
He did, and he posted a really beautiful picture. They look so happy and so content together. That really warmed my heart to see it.
I would hope.
Congrats to them. Yeah, it really made me mad to see people so happy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No, I mean, I hope they look happy in their picture. Like, if you can't look happy in that one, like, just cut and run. That's my advice.
Yeah, that's probably good advice.
So Black History Month is upon us, and Tunde will be hosting a virtual event for Peloton called The Power of Community.
This is really cool, Tom, because I don't know that I've ever seen Peloton do this outside of a homecoming event.
Uh-huh.
The community is actually invited to register. So Peloton always, you see, especially when they were in the office, would be having conversations like this for their staff, but they've never invited the broader community to attend. And I think it's really neat that they did that. You can go to the site and register. It is free, and it is on Wednesday, February 15th at 3:15 p.m. Eastern time.
That's awesome. It's interesting because I think Tonal has done stuff like this in the past. So I don't know if that has affected their desire to do things like, or willingness to do things like this, or if it's just a coincidence that they might not pay any attention to Peloton or to Tonal whatsoever. I just know that they had done stuff like this. I know they've backed off of it recently. I don't think because they've changed their opinion of Black History Month, but I think because they got rid of a bunch of instructors and it got really weird for them. And so they stopped doing things like this because people would just come on and yell at them. So I think they were trying to let that calm down. But I know Tonal has done things like this in the past. So I just thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. I hope people don't log on and yell at them for this.
They weren't getting yelled at for doing a Black History Month thing. They were getting yelled at because
for firing their instructors,
for getting rid of basically all of their instructors simultaneously and bringing in new ones. And so they just kind of like scaled back their live interaction to let that die down. And then there's been layoffs and things like that. So this hasn't kind of fired back up yet.
I'll be interested to see if this is something that Peloton is doing as a one-time only, or if it's just a new way for them to engage with the community now that it's massive in this post-pandemic world. You know, we can't have homecomings anymore in person. That's been proven. And now maybe this is a way to stretch that out throughout the course of the year to help members feel more connected.
Yeah, I also feel like Tunde really wants to have more of a hosting role. Like, not that she doesn't want to teach classes, but I just kind of feel like maybe her career arc is looking towards something like that, because you see her doing a lot of this with her Speak series. And then, you know, they had that podcast that like kind of came and went. I don't know if that's still out there somewhere or if, I don't know if it's ever coming back or if it was just, wasn't worth their time. I don't know, but they keep playing with all these different ways to engage people. And I've noticed Tunde's been kind of at the forefront on a lot of them, not all of them, obviously, but on a lot of them. So I kind of wonder if she's driving that to some degree, like, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Let's find things for me to work on.
It's possible. She's really good at it.
She is.
So
Yeah.
I could absolutely see that happening.
Robin Arzon is going on a book tour for her new book, Strong Baby.
She is, and she's getting to both coasts in 24 hours, which is amazing.
Like
she's
Phil
pregnant.
Collins,
When I was
like Phil Collins at Live Aid.
Sure.
Do you remember that? He's the only artist at Live Aid that played at Wembley and wherever it was in the States. Like he opened the show in London and then got on a plane and flew to wherever it was over here and then did another set. I think he played drums for Zeppelin.
That's pretty impressive. What year was that?
85, I think. Yeah.
I was 2, so
Okay.
that's probably why I don't remember.
That's enough
Maybe.
out of you.
Oh, Gina can't be with us any longer.
Yes, the Zoom link is getting real fuzzy.
So Robin's starting her tour with a virtual event, which is nice. And then she has a speaking engagement in New York on the 22nd of February. And then the very next day, she's in Menlo Park, California.
That's a
So
whole.
when I was pregnant, I didn't get off the couch, let alone fly and do events on each coast in a matter of 24 hours.
Yeah, I forgot about the whole she's doing this while pregnant thing.
Yeah, but she, strong baby, strong mama, she can do it. If anyone can do it, it's Robin.
And while we're speaking of Robin, we finally have some insight as to what the Swagger Society actually gets you.
Do we?
I could tell the way you were giving me side eye. You're like, really? Does this make sense to you? I don't know. She said
do we?
things. It says benefits and access, and then there's little check marks. And so I guess that it says, so for benefits, behind the scenes messages from Robin. You get that with tier 1, tier 2, and non-members. And then limited edition Swagger Society merchandise, tier 1 early VIP access. So you get that tier 1 and tier 2, but non-members have to earn it. It doesn't say what you have to do to earn it.
I'm going to guess you have to have some swagger, first and foremost. That seems to be a requirement. I saw this in my feed, and admittedly, I went from, I couldn't even have the brain space for this because I didn't understand it, to like, okay, now I'm actually a little bit intrigued. Before I couldn't even look at it because I had no idea what was going on. Now I'm like, all right, what is it that you're doing? I still don't know that we have a whole lot of insight on what this all is.
Yeah.
But it does seem like maybe it's some way for people to connect with her outside of Peloton.
Yeah, because it says, so you also get personalized motivational messages from Robin, and you get award hustle points to community members. I'm assuming, I'm just reading between the lines, this is my interpretation, so don't hold Robin to this if I'm wrong, but I feel like the hustle points are probably how you earn things.
That sounds like a reasonable assumption. And I will say Robin is always so good about engaging with her community.
Yeah.
For a long time, she was one of the first people that I saw, and maybe even the first instructor. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But she had one of those text numbers.
Oh,
where
yeah.
She could text you about stuff and you could text her. And I will tell you, I texted her once after a ride,
Right.
and she sent me a personalized voice note in response.
Oh, wow.
And I was shocked because I thought that you were getting
You thought this was bullshit.
I mean,
You're like the marketing person, and you was like, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole just to see what it is.
right.
Yeah, I've done that.
I wanted to see the engagement, and
Yeah.
I was fully expecting that her assistant was on the other side
Right.
texting back like, you've got this, queen, right?
Yeah.
And instead, I got a voice memo that was very clearly Robin, who was responding exactly to what I said. It wasn't like a pre-recorded, you've
Right.
got this, queen. She addressed the text that I had sent her.
Yeah.
So knowing that, and that was years ago now, but knowing that, I do think that once the pieces of this come into play and we understand a little bit more, that it will be enticing, and that people who are looking for some extra connection with her will find it here.
I know she's been taking a lot of heat in some quarters for it, and based on like you telling that story makes me think that there must be more to this. and she must be pretty confident because she doesn't seem to be backing off of it at all.
Well, Robin's confident.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there like, no shit, Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If anyone's confident, it's Robin. So
Yeah.
I'm intrigued now. I was in the beginning, I was like, come on, what is this? But now I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Also, just running down the other things, it says you also get access to in-person meetups, tier 1 guests. Tier 1 gets VIP access with a +1, and then you also have Robin's annual Swagger Society community event, and tier 1 gets a +1. So I guess tier 1 is just you, and then the earned depends on how much you earn, right? And then accountability coaching sessions with Swagger Society. It doesn't say Robin though; it says Swagger Society.
No, it didn't. Yeah. I noticed that.
And then partnerships and collabs, but I don't know what that means. So. But it is starting to come into focus for those who are interested.
Indeed.
So Cody had a whole little run of things going on. Let's start with the less controversial controversy, which is he started something of a firestorm over whether or not you should wash chicken before you cook it.
Listen, if there's ever any question about whether the word Peloton gets you clicks and views, it is settled.
Yes.
I cannot believe that I'm currently looking at an article that says, should you wash chicken? Peloton instructor Cody Rigsby sparks fiery debate.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I do wash my chicken.
Do you? I've never washed my chicken.
I rinse it off because I don't like the way it feels. I don't like touching it. I don't like the way it feels. And I rinse it off.
Yeah, I mean, uncooked chicken is gross, but
it's disgusting.
But yeah, and I make chicken all the time for the MetPro thing that I do, and I throw it in the air fryer. But I've never washed it, and I guess so far so good. But
here we are having a fiery debate about it.
Yeah,
they were right.
I wouldn't call it fiery. It was more just like,
no, I really don't care.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm cooking it. Right? Like if I cooked it, I can't wash the inside of it. What are you washing off the chicken? Do you wash your beef before you cook it? It sounds dirty when I say like you wash your beef. But do you wash your beef before you cook it? Do you rinse off a steak?
No.
So why would you rinse off chicken?
You're making a good point.
Like what would you rinse off the chicken? What would be on the chicken that's not on the steak?
There's like slime on uncooked chicken.
Okay, but the slime's also going to be in the chicken.
Well, sure,
chickens
but I don't
are
have
inherently
to see that.
slimy, and so you cook it, and then it's less slimy, and now it's edible.
I want you to put a poll in the Facebook group asking if people wash their chicken.
That's too much work.
We need to know, and it needs to be yes, no, or a third option. Yes, I was influenced by Cody. Like I didn't until Cody did it.
Well, even he said he sometimes washes his chicken.
That I don't get. Either wash it or don't. You're either a washer or you're a not washer.
Yes.
You can't ride the middle lane on this.
No.
Pick one.
Absolutely. So while we're talking about Cody, we should address the fact that so the more controversial controversy he found himself embroiled in this week was somebody tagged him in a post for an exercise, a fitness studio in Scottsdale, Arizona, owned by a woman named Kristina Girod. I hope I'm saying that right. And I apologize if I'm not, especially because she'll take me down on the gram if I got it wrong. But I guess I haven't seen the footage of her classes, but I guess there's choreography involved, kind of comparable to a Soul Cycle is what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, so it's one of those spin classes where there's a lot of choreography involved. It actually kind of reminded me of the groove rides that Cody himself used to do, but a little bit more dancing. A little bit more dancing than that. Gotcha.
And so he, in reply to getting tagged, they were like, oh, you need to do stuff. Peloton needs to do this and Cody needs to lead it. And he said something to the effect of, that's dangerous and a joke. And then she took the gram and took him to task.
She did. She didn't just take him to the gram. I actually stumbled across this story on TikTok.
Okay.
She took him to task there also. And this woman, good for her, has built a really strong community through her studio in Scottsdale, Arizona. So they were all over Cody.
She has like what did it say? Like 1.5 million TikTok followers or something? I'm 52 years old.
You're
So-
showing your age, Tom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
You were born in
tic-tac.
85. I was born in 70. So,
83.
okay.
not, yeah,
Oh, 80,
not much
okay,
of a
sorry.
joke.
At least,
Yeah,
at
not
least
much
it was
of
to
a-
your advantage.
Sure.
But
That's fair.
but is it dangerous? Like, I've always heard that this kind of stuff is kind of dangerous. I mean, at least I would think it's dangerous for Peloton, because if someone fails in her studio, if they fall off the bike and they get hurt, she's there to help them. But if
Right.
you're riding your bike at home and you suck at this, you like there's potentially no one there to assist you. Now, I will say I think he said it inartfully. Like it,
I agree.
you know, but I definitely think there's a big difference between this sort of a spin class when you have other people there to pick you up if you fall than there is doing it in the privacy of your own home, where quite possibly you're all by yourself. And also, people can't judge your capabilities. Like, some people ride the bike with different abilities, whether it's a limb difference or, and I'm not saying those people can't do it, but maybe some of them aren't sure. And if they're trying it by themselves, who knows what could happen? Or some people ride the bike and they're 90 years old. They're out there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as somebody who used to take in-person spin classes, it was super common for the instructor to shout out modifications if somebody was dealing with an injury. You'd let them know in advance and they'd say, like, we're getting out of the saddle, but you stay in it
Right.
to help you with your form along the way. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. In person, I mean, a business wouldn't be able to get insurance coverage on that business if it was that much of a liability, right?
Right.
So I agree that for Peloton, it would be a really not great decision to offer a class like that. But you're absolutely right. He could have had a little bit more tact
Yeah.
in his response, recognizing he's one of the most high profile Peloton instructors there are.
Right.
And yeah, he stepped in it a bit.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing on this, though, was not a lot of people knew about that controversy until he posted the apology video, and then they went looking for it.
Right.
So if you looked in the comments of the apology, a lot of people were saying, "What's this about? Somebody fill me in. I don't know what you're talking about." So I think he did the right thing in apologizing. But I also think it grew the audience for the controversy.
Most likely. But yeah, but we should say that he did issue an apology. So like that so credit where credit is due.
Yeah. I wonder, though, if he reached out to her directly to do it or if he just did a public one.
That's a good point. I don't know.
Neither do I. Crystal would probably know.
She would know. That's why she's Clip Out Crystal. And I'm just comic relief.
More Cody news.
Yes, while we're on Cody, this is the last Cody story, not ever, but this episode. He was featured in Elle magazine, the Canadian edition.
This was a cute little article, a little how the sausage gets made with his LOL Cody series. I really enjoyed the read. One of the questions they asked him was who his dream guest would be. And when I saw that they were asking him that, I'm like, I thought we already did this. I thought it would be JC from NSYNC, and he got him.
Right.
Check. And he actually acknowledged that, but he said Shangela would be a dream guest. And then also Lance Bass. Lance Bass and Cody Rigsby share the same talent agent.
Well, that seems like something that should be achievable then.
I would think so.
And so, and I'm
It
sorry, I
was a
have to
cute
ask,
article.
who is Shangela?
So Shangela is from, I'm going to get this wrong. I believe Shangela was on Drag Race. Yes, she was.
Okay.
And, you know, she may have even been on Dancing with the Stars, though. I don't think it was Cody's season.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it would be fun, though.
Yeah. So Susie Chan was invited to participate in Badwater, which is, Crystal tells me, one of the hardest, if not the hardest, ultra marathon style thingy out there. I know they have a better way to say it than that, but keep in mind.
Surely they don't. That has to be it, right?
Ultra marathon thingy, hard time running.
Yeah, I think that's the official
Game.
tagline on it.
Yeah.
This is invite only, too. And she said she's been waiting 12 years to get an invite. So that's really cool for her that she's going to get to check this off her bucket list. It is called the World's Toughest Race, and it goes from Death Valley to Mount Whitney, California.
Which I believe Mount Whitney has like a 8,000 feet elevation, and you're starting in Death Valley. And like, I guess in the Death Valley part, it gets into like the 120s, while you're running. Crystal was telling me that there was some other lady that maybe Susie Chan was talking about that ran it, that did the whole race on like 400 calories. And my first thought was like, why would you do that? And she was like, oh, it wasn't intentional, but she kept throwing up. And so because it was so hard. And so she ended up only really having, in terms of actual calories, consuming 400 calories.
You've got to really want to do this to complete it while vomiting.
Yes, I concur wholeheartedly.
I don't know that I've ever wanted anything that bad in my life.
Yeah, I would agree. So
Good for her, though.
Yeah, I know when they say
really cool.
When they say it's the world's toughest race, and I was like, well, I think the one Crystal did on Sunday was a little tougher. She wasn't technically racing, but
she didn't know she was racing that SUV, I guess.
Yes, but she didn't. Yeah, she didn't go into it knowing it was going to be tough.
Wow, that's really neat. And it'll be fun to follow. I'm sure that she will let us in on her training journey and the entire experience, as the instructors always do when they're doing stuff like that.
Absolutely. So past guest Elle from Elle on the Run talks to Peloton instructors all the time, and she had the aforementioned Susie Chan on her most recent episode, number 608.
I did not listen to that.
There's a lot to consume out there. It's okay.
There's a lot of Peloton material to consume. But I had listened to Elle on the Run before, and it is a great show.
Oh, she was a lot of fun. So Leanne Hainsby was posting this week, just kind of talking about dealing with the side effects of her chemo treatment, whether it be eyebrow tattoos or fake eyelashes.
I think it's absolutely amazing how vulnerable and transparent Leanne is being with all of this. She said, people are saying how amazing it is that her hair hasn't fallen out. And she said, you're wrong. My hair has fallen out. And my ponytails, every single hair is strategically placed on my head so that you can't tell. My eyebrows are tattooed on. She is just, what an incredible person to get back on the bike the way that she has and to share and be as vulnerable as she has been being with millions and millions of people. I just think it's absolutely incredible. And of course, I love seeing also that Ben is by her side through all of it.
Absolutely. It's I'm sure it's quite a struggle. So it takes a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely would.
And she was also featured in Cosmo UK. There's an article there if you want to check that out. Christine D'Ercole's running club. What's it called? I am, I can, I will, I do. Did I get there?
You did. You got it.
In the right order? I thought I was going to get it in the wrong order.
No, you got it.
Okay.
You got it.
Was named the top running club of the year by USA Cycling. How about that?
That is really, really cool. And it says that there were over 130 entries for that award.
Wow.
So they beat out a lot of people to get that. That is a really big achievement, super high honor, and very cool to see the connection. She posted about it on Facebook and is rightfully proud.
She should be.
Yeah.
Ali Love was on the Take Command podcast, which is part of the Dale Carnegie collection of podcasts. I didn't know Dale Carnegie was still a thing.
Neither did I. That was actually the most surprising part for me as well. But it sounds like she talks about her journey. Ali does have a really incredible story about how, and I'm sure you've talked about it on the podcast before, but she wanted to be a dancer and then she suffered major injuries and came back and is dancing and is a Peloton instructor and is hosting a bunch of stuff. And
she's hugely successful.
An amazing career.
She's hugely successful in a career that she didn't even know existed as a potentiality when she began her career path.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like Peloton wasn't an option when she started down, when she went down, when she decided whatever career she wanted to get into, right? And so I tell this to the kids all the time when they're talking about colleges and where they want to go. I'm like, have a dream, but be prepared to pivot, because there are so many things out there that you don't exist, or like in her case, don't exist yet, and you don't even know, and that you find yourself preparing for it. And you don't even realize you're preparing for it. If you like, Matty Giacomo is another good example. Like, if you go on YouTube, you can find all this footage of him like hosting red carpet segments for different networks. And it's like, and clearly that's a skill that serves him well. But at no point was he like, I'm doing this so I can teach tread instructing. right?
Absolutely. I think any instructor hired before probably 2018 has a similar story. None of them. Alex Toussaint was mopping floors at a local spin studio. I mean, none of them ever dreamt that this was possible because it didn't even exist. And look at them now.
Yeah, the height of success before Peloton was if you became, a personal trainer to the stars, right? If you got a couple famous clients, that was success, and that was making real money. So it's like the idea that you could that could be a path to stardom was just not even a thing.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is I'm not even aware of any Peloton instructors who were on that path you just said. It's not like they pulled in celebrity trainers, you know, that, I was Jennifer Aniston's yoga instructor. They really pulled in people from a wide variety and made them all these celebrity instructors now.
And, if you think about it, especially at the beginning, they probably had to, because if you're Jennifer Aniston's yoga instructor, you're already making good bank. You're not walking away from that for a startup, right?
Well, right.
So they
Absolutely.
kind of had to moneyball it. And now they probably don't want those people, right? Like they've already got such a brand, and Peloton's such a big brand. Like they want to bring in people where they're like, you can be famous, but we're the brand.
That's right. And I'm sure they have no shortage of applicants for those roles.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then finally for this segment, Alex Toussaint is competing on the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game again this year. He played last year and absolutely killed it.
Yeah, he didn't just play. He won the MVP award, and his team won. So that was really neat. I know Alex, and he loves Dwayne Wade, so I'm sure he is super excited to be on Team Dwayne this year. And yeah, it should be fun. My elder millennial heart got excited to see The Miz on the team because I remember The Miz from when he was on The Real World.
The Real World, yeah.
Way back in the day.
I think it's so funny that he's like famous for wrestling now, because that's all he ever talked about on The Real World was he wanted to be a wrestler, and that he actually made that happen. Now I know part of how he got to make it happen was the juice that Real World gave him, but all that does ultimately is open a door, and he was able to stick with it and become successful in that world on his own. Because that world, I wouldn't think the average WWE fan is a Real World fan. So if anything, it probably worked against him at the beginning. Like it was a double-edged sword, right? It opened a door for him, but a lot of the fans were probably like, Real World?
Absolutely. And it's not like the Real World is just this breeding ground for celebrity. I think you probably couldn't name most people who've been on The Real World.
I remember Puck, but it's only one word that I have to remember.
And he's the most memorable person to come out of The Real World, probably. I mean, that guy was problematic.
Very. And then there was the other guy on that one who is big in the comic book world, or at least he was. I haven't read newer ones for a while, but he was working on major DC comics for a good chunk of time. I
can see his face, and I don't remember his name. Yeah. But either way, Alex will be playing in the All-Star Celebrity Game. And I actually saw that it looks like he hired a basketball coach to help him get ready.
Well, but he is there an MVP? What? You don't we saw what you did last year. You don't have to get ready. You are ready.
Well, so Alex always says that you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. Yeah. So he is practicing what he preaches, and he is staying ready for this game.
Maybe this is like a Miz situation. He is working at Peloton, and he's trying to use that to get into the NBA.
Crazier things could happen.
That is true.
I don't know that we could roll it out.
And coming up after this, we're going to talk to Angelo from MetPro. He's going to have tips for you on how to stay consistent.
The Clip Out.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Angelo from MetPro, here to answer all of your nutrition questions to help you achieve your fitness goals. Hello.
Hi.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back.
Well, thank you for coming back after we put you on the hot seat last time. Okay, so this question comes from Amy Robinson, and I feel like a lot of people can, identify with this, or it resonates with a lot of people. She would like to know, how do you stay consistent, whether it's food or working out? Like, how do you get that consistency?
Okay, so I've got the answer for this. You ready, Amy?
There you go.
The answer is accountability.
Oh.
Now, the trick is it can come from any number of places. We are in the accountability business. That's what we do at MetPro. We help people with that accountability. And it is just a fundamental law of humanity that we are willing to let ourselves down sooner than we will someone else. And so when you have a coach and when you're working with someone, yes, of course, there's a science side and the manipulation and all that. Make sure you're on a optimized program, but it cannot be understated the benefits of having someone that you're accountable to, because it really pushes you to stay consistent. So it's the same principle, psychological principle behind so many, with the 7-step programs that are out there. Always part of it is sharing your journey, verbalizing, committing audibly, here's what I'm doing, to someone else or to other people. So if you're doing this on your own and you want additional accountability, share what you're doing with others. Be practical. Make a plan in advance. So if you want to exercise daily or 4 days a week or 3 days, whatever it is, if your plan is to say, well, I'm going to find some time to exercise tomorrow, it's not going to happen. I'm in the coaching business. I have this conversation day in and day out. I can sniff it coming a mile away. Someone tells me I'm going to work out. I know whether they're actually going to or not. What time? If they so much as hesitate, it's not happening. So you have to. It's the truth.
I love the way you leaned in, though.
It's the truth. You have to plan in advance and have a routine. If you know when it's going to happen, if it's on the calendar, then your follow through is significantly higher. They've done studies on this. When somebody is trying to get into a routine for regular exercise, every hour past noon that goes by, statistically, mathematically, you are percentages less likely to exercise that day. So if you don't know where to start, try and exercise earlier in the day. If you can't exercise early in the day, anchor it to something you won't miss. I tell a lot of you picking up kids from school, perfect. Workout right before or after that, because I know you're not going to leave Johnny sitting in front of the school until 9:30 at night.
Sure.
Well, Tom,
Except Tom.
Yeah. Toughens them up.
So anchor, and then I actually did this in a seminar years ago. I had everyone in the room divide up by different nutritional strategies they've implemented. And, I've counted calories, or I've cut carbs, or I've done this or done that, and I said, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to split up the room. We're just going to create a mental hypothesis here. Now this third of the room is going to count calories. That third of the room is going to keep their carbs under this number. And this third of the room over here, they're going to eat whatever the heck they want. Here's the catch. They can only eat what they've prepared in advance the day before.
Oh.
They have to make their food in advance. Which group you think lost more weight? Every single time.
That last one.
Yeah.
It's intention and prep outranks any other strategy. You may have the greatest strategy in the world. If you were a fly on the wall with any of our coaches' conversations with their client, day one, here's what we hear a lot. It's like, oh yeah, I already lost this much weight and this happened. And I'm already seeing it. I'm doing it. Like, yeah, Johnny, I don't care. Here's what I want to know. You're not getting graded based on pounds lost. Week one, you are getting graded based on routine and preparation. And it's my job to teach you all the little tricks of the trade to do that quickly so it's not cumbersome in your life. But you're getting graded on preparation, because even if someone struggles with the execution, Amy, if you have those pieces in place and something is prepped, then you have the tools to not just have a win for a day or a week, but frankly, a lifetime. So the number one thing that I tell people is here's your priority. When it comes to nutrition, if you can just do one thing, prepare in advance an afternoon snack and commit to it. I won't get into all the reasons why we actually use a weird one, an afternoon snack, but trust me, there's a lot of disruptive benefits to that. If you can do that and you can execute on that, then I want you to commit to a clean breakfast and an afternoon snack. That is a great start that literally anyone can do. If you check that off, then go breakfast, lunch, afternoon snack, and get those dialed in. Simultaneously commit to, I don't care how hard you train. I don't care how long you train for. My first month of working with a client, what I care very much about is frequency and consistency. Pick the lowest common denominator, do something very easy so you can commit to and be a repeat with your exercise. Get consistent first. Once you have the routine and the consistency in place, then we can start layering on intensity. So that's my best throw for my best pitch for a 5-minute response.
Awesome.
It was great.
It was. So if people would like something like this laid out for them personally, where can they find you?
metpro.co/TCO. I would love to visit with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
In case you missed it.
So there was a team call this week, which is where they kind of get everybody on the phone, even the stores, what's left of them, and they have a conversation. And so we had some intel from things that were said on the team call. Thought you might like to hear. So,
I knew this was going to happen. So Barry said he's not going anywhere, and the company is not up for sale.
Yeah, he was very adamant that he is here for the long haul. And that no matter what you read, they are not shopping this company.
So I thought that was really interesting for a number of reasons. One, he never said that he was leaving or that the company was going up for sale. So it just shows you how quickly and how massive rumors can get that start from who knows where.
From people wanting
nowhere.
clicks, like you said
Right.
earlier. Because we saw an article like that, we didn't cover it because we were like, this article's bullshit. And it was on Yahoo. It wasn't even on something small. It was on Yahoo Finance. And they're like, is Apple buying Peloton? And then when you read it, it's like, well, maybe it's this a guy being like, I think Apple should buy. I'm like, really? That's a Yahoo Finance article now. And so people just keep having this dream that they're going to sell it to some other big company and then it's going to be amazing again. And I'm just like, well, it is amazing. And
it's already there. Your expectations are pandemic level and you need to adjust them.
Right.
But the rumors got so huge that he actually had to comment on it. That's wild to me.
Yeah.
And then I also thought, you just said it, I saw this the day after I saw a headline saying that both Nike and Apple wanted to buy Peloton. I didn't even click on it.
Yeah.
Because it's just always clickbait, right?
Right.
But he said it himself.
Yeah. So
they're not for sale.
They're not for sale.
Not on his watch.
So Peloton announced this week that they are introducing Yin Yoga. Does that mean anything to you?
Kind of, sort of. When I saw this, I actually thought, I wish they would do a better job of educating around the different types of yoga, because I've been doing yoga for a long time. Yoga is actually one of my favorite offerings from Peloton.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand the difference between all of the different classes. They all feel the same to me. Maybe
Right.
I'm doing it wrong. Let's leave that door open as a possibility. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Though Dr. Chelsea Jackson Roberts would say you can't do it wrong. So I will believe that. But it says that Yin Yoga focuses on stillness within the body, featuring a slow, steady paced practice along with deeper poses for meditative exploration. It sounds relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said,
I'll give it a try.
I know nothing about yoga, and I don't do it.
No.
And as I get teased about when I do the tonal, I skip the stretches at the end. I'll do the ones at the beginning, but at the end, I'm like, I've done the working. I'm done now. So I know Crystal
can't
and
skip the
Dr.
stretches,
Jen
huh?
both make that same face at me. But
Yeah.
I always tell people it's like, I say this about when people get on me about how I eat too. I'm like, you don't go into an AA meeting and yell at them for smoking, right? Like you pick your battles. Like you got them to stop
Fair
drinking.
enough.
Like let them have their Camels, right? So,
Fair enough.
But I will say that we have an article about this on our website. I think it went up while we were recording this episode. So if you want more information about it, you can check theclipout.com or check the Clipout page or the group on Facebook, and you can find it on there. Just kind of going into more detail about what this is, because I don't know, and I think at least we know listeners don't expect me to know.
And they don't know me at all, so they can't have expectations.
Yes, they have
of me,
zero
right?
expectations.
Exactly. I like living life like that.
Same. It's like my favorite line from Say Anything. You know, when you start off the day mildly depressed, everything's a pleasant surprise. We should also point out this week that the Peloton original bike went on sale via Woot, which is now owned by Amazon. So, and Woot is kind of like, it started as a deal of the day website. Now they have a lot more things on there, but they had it on sale for $1,050, and I believe that was shipped. So
That is giving it away.
yeah. So I guess they must have a lot of them sitting around. I don't know.
I don't know either. But I was really surprised to see that price point. And at the same time, it feels like another day, another sale on Peloton equipment.
Yeah, I think it's been a bit since it's been quite this inexpensive. But we talked in the past about Barry and his A/B test, and I think you're going to see this, that from time to time they're just going to blow out a bunch to it, because now they're getting your $45 a month. Is that how much it is now? I don't even know. It goes on Crystal's card. I don't pay attention, but it's a way to bring in members. It's a way to get people over the hump that are sitting there debating.
Yeah.
So, and it was also interesting because the data we saw in the past, we talked about this a few months back, that when they introduced Bike Plus, it actually increased sales of the bike. That I would have thought people would be like, oh, for the little bit extra, I'll get the one with the bells and whistles. But instead,
Totally.
It created a value proposition where people were like, oh, the bells and whistles aren't great enough, so I'd rather get this cheaper one. So if you're already having that internal debate and they drop it $400, like it seems like a no-brainer.
Of course. I thought the strategy here was really interesting too, to put it on a daily deal site. Remember when those were all the rage? And I don't know, like 2010. What's today's Groupon? There was one. Now you go
there
on
was
Groupon and there's like a
there
million.
was Gold something, but
Woot was one of them before they were acquired.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they've all got away from the deal that, like, they still technically have a deal of the day, but they started to figure out really quick that, like, if they wanted to maximize revenue, they needed to sell more than one thing a day. But the problem was, when they sold one thing a day, they would sell a ton of those things. People would, because it's like, I know, because I'll put tickets on Groupon sometimes for where I work, and like Groupon used to sell tickets like crazy for me, and now it doesn't move tickets at all. Like, I think there's so much stuff on there that it gets lost. It's I say this all the time, all italics is the same as no italics.
Well, when it was only one deal a day too, you'd get into the habit of checking to see what it was.
Right.
Now there's really no reason to go check unless you're looking for something specific. That's how I use Groupon.
Yeah.
Is if I'm like, this feels like something that might be on Groupon.
For sure.
Then
If
I check it
I'm
out.
going to another city, I'll be like,
Yes.
oh, I bet you that there's travel stuff. There's like, I'll go to like, oh, I'm going to go to Philadelphia. I'll go to Philadelphia and look at like things to do. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And I'll buy the things there. Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. Universal experience.
And finally, the Valentine's Day classes have been posted.
They have, and it is a stacked schedule. I don't know that I've ever seen them do this many classes for Valentine's Day before. There's nearly a dozen listed here of all different sorts.
I've never
of
noticed they've had special
modalities.
Valentine's Day classes before. I don't remember it.
Last year around Valentine's Day is when they rolled out that XOXO Cody series, and that was sort of Valentine's-y. I don't know that they've ever gone this deep on it. And they also rolled out Valentine's Day apparel, which I know they've done before, but that just launched yesterday. So as we record this, it's Wednesday. It launched on Tuesday. When I looked at it this evening before coming on to record, they already had marked it down, which I thought was interesting.
Huh. Interesting.
So if you're super into Valentine's Day and Peloton, boy, do we have good news for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think my Valentine's Day plans have been scuttled.
I bet you placing an order from the apparel site might help Crystal feel a little bit better, Tom.
Especially if I can find the outfit that was destroyed.
And maybe it'll be on sale.
Yeah.
It does seem like they're running a sale right now. I didn't look at everything, but a lot of stuff's on sale right now.
I did tell one of the doctors when they were like, so do you need anything else before we leave? And I'm like, can I get a note from you that says I didn't do this? Like, I'm like, every time I go out in public with her, like, people are going to be like, what the hell did you do to her? You monster. So
I don't know that people will say that, but I do feel for her that Beyond Yoga got screwed up. That stuff's great. It's really
yeah. And it was a Beyond Yoga leggings, and it was a Robin Arzon tank top that they haven't. I think she said it might have been like one of, if not the first Peloton item she ever bought. Yeah.
Oh, and you're going back 2016 then?
Yes.
That's rough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was very upset about that. Like, once she knew she was going to be okay and she could be upset about the trivial aspects of what occurred. Yeah, she was not happy.
She might be able to earn something similar through the Swagger Society.
Oh,
though.
how about that?
Time will tell.
She can get her swagger bucks or whatever they're called.
Whatever it is, we don't know yet.
Robin dollars.
Probably not that.
Probably not that.
Probably not, no.
And coming up after this, we're going to talk to Craig Heisner. He's our interview of the week. He works at New Balance, and he has all sorts of interesting thoughts about shoes and just his Peloton journey. So stick around.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Craig Heisner. Hey, Craig, how's it going?
It is going great. It's great to be here. Great to meet you guys.
So great to have you here. I like to always start with, regardless of our guest, how did you originally find Peloton?
I was I was thinking about that because I actually purchased my bike in the summer of 2018. And at the time, there was a woman that I worked with who told me about it.
Yeah.
But, I've always been sort of this early adopter kind of gadget geek guy. I always got to have the latest and greatest. And so when I saw this, I thought, this is pretty cool. And, I'd always been a guy that loved spin classes. But I hated the sort of beat the clock to beat everybody to get your bike and then get the stare down when you take someone's bike who's been riding there for the past, 10 years or something.
How did you not know?
I know, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, and you guys know this, I mean, getting out of bed at 5:45 and walking across my apartment and getting on a bike for a 6 a.m. ride is pretty easy to do. So, or hard to say no to, I suppose. But so somebody at work told me about it, and I went to a store. I was living in Chicago. I went to a store, and I think I walked out with a purchase, and 2 days later it was being delivered. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, back in 2018, that could happen in 2 days.
Exactly.
Especially in a big city.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was, and I absolutely love it. In fact, I'm on ride. I just realized this morning. I'm on ride 999.
Oh wow! Look at
So there you go. Yeah.
Well, congrats for
Thank you.
1,000. Who are you going to take 1,000 with?
I don't know. I do a lot of the Power Zone classes, and I'm currently in the middle of a Power Zone challenge, so I'm kind of tied to some of the classes there. But I'll find someone. I don't really get too hung up on the shout outs as much.
Yeah. No, I get that, but 1,000 is special. 1,000 is special.
Yeah. I'm excited. Honestly, it didn't hit me until yesterday. I knew I was creeping up on it, but yeah. So 999 is where I'm at.
Congrats. That is very cool.
Yeah.
So you said you've always liked spin classes. Have you always been active in general, or did you did you have some time periods where you weren't, all over the place?
Yeah, I think we all have some time periods where we're not as active, right?
We're not counting sleep.
Yeah. Tom had like 50 years of not being active, so
disposable time. No, I've always lived an active lifestyle. I was an athlete through college, and when I got out of school, I started to sort of try to satisfy that competitive thirst by getting into road races. I used to do a ton of triathlons.
Wow.
Back when I was very, very young. So I was always a strong swimmer, a decent cyclist, and then I kind of watched everybody run past me on the runs as I suffered. And then, so I've always, again, I've lived a very active life. And of course, I've worked in the sports space now for almost 20 years.
Wow.
So the cycling's been a nice complement to just how I live my life. I've actually done CrossFit for over 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and definitely off and on, because with CrossFit, for me, in my 50s now, it kind of, you wake up in the morning and every day you kind of feel like you rolled your car down a cliff.
Oof.
I mean, if you're just that sore all the time. So I spread out my time lifting heavy weights and trying to keep up with some of those young folks. So I do a lot of different stuff.
Well, that's awesome. And you still do all those things, even with Peloton. You still
I do. I mix it up. I even row. I don't have a Peloton rower because I have a smaller apartment, and I have a Concept 2.
Oh, okay.
So I rode on a Concept 2 for years, definitely off and on with the rowing. But yeah, I get bored.
Yeah.
The only thing that's been steady for me, and I haven't missed a week since I guess July of 2018, is riding my Peloton. I definitely get my rides in. So,
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so going back to, you've been in the sports industry. What exactly do you do?
So I work for New Balance athletic shoe here in Boston. I work in the corporate headquarters, and I work in their strategy group. So I am basically responsible now for looking at opportunities in the health and wellness space for the brand. Of course,
cool.
It's interesting because I had worked for New Balance back in the 90s, and I mentioned I've been in the biz for a while. So I've worked for a few different brands. I worked for Brooks Sports. I worked for Reebok. I worked for a little brand out in Boulder, Colorado called Newton Running Company. And I returned to New Balance about 1.5 years ago, initially in a contract role, and now I'm back as a full-time employee. They told me I'm the longest boomerang to ever return to the so I don't know why they let me back in, but it's been 22 years since I worked there. And
wow.
So the strategy, and the strategy group, supports all functions of the organization. So there's a lot of variety in terms of what we're asked to do across the department. I work with a lot of really young people who are considerably smarter than me. And, it could be anything, could be brand, could be product, could be distribution, digital. I mean, you name it. So I've done a lot of different stuff throughout my career, which I think is good perspective to bring back to the company as an older guy.
So really, they just sent you out to go get experience from all these other companies.
Yeah. Doing research.
Yeah.
Intel,
go
deep
dig around.
cover.
Yeah. Figure out. Yeah. Go get their playbook, Greg, and come back to us in 20 years.
Corporate espionage at the highest level.
It's interesting that the business, and I've worked primarily in the running business in the past, and the truth is there's a lot of sameness. There's, as you can imagine, there's a cadence to how the business is done with events and, cyclicality of holidays and so forth that sort of dictate in many respects how you flow goods to the market. And so in some ways it's almost like being on a different team with just a slightly different playbook. Obviously each brand that I've worked with, and there's a lot of really great brands in our industry, they all have, for the most part, unique points of view. And I think New Balance has one that's really unique. It's a very special place. It's privately owned by Jim and Ann Davis, and they've owned it they just celebrated 50 years owning the business. So it's a cool place. Yeah.
So when you went to your interview, did you not wear dress shoes? Did you wear
you like
balance
you had
shoes.
kicking your new
Well,
balance shoes?
thankfully I didn't have an interview this time around, but yeah, you don't wear dress shoes to work.
I bet not.
No, it's you got to wear running shoes primarily. So it's a really, I'm sure you guys can appreciate it. It's a really cool environment. And of course, there's a lot of brands, right, that exist in this sort of active lifestyle, passion-driven brands, and it's a fun place to be. It's very different from when I left 20 years ago, as you can, I'm sure, appreciate.
Sure.
It's much larger. Back then, we were really tipping the brand, I think, in many ways, but it's a cool place and it's a great industry to be in. I'm lucky. I feel very lucky.
Okay, so I feel like I see this question posted at least once a day. How can people know the best shoe for them when it comes to running?
We could geek out on this all day and talk about it. And this is probably not the answer that you want, but I believe.
They're on.
Well, I think that you should purchase the shoe that feels the most natural on your foot. And I realize that, oversimplifies it, but anytime that you have what I would refer to as just sort of superfluous extras that get in the way of your body wanting to move in its sort of natural state, I think it's not good for you. And of course, it depends on who you talk to, because everybody has a different opinion. Running footwear and athletic footwear has changed a lot in the past. It's always evolving, but if you look at how things were, we'll say 15 years ago, we used to do a lot of we would put a lot of stability features into shoes that basically, tried to limit pronation and really natural movement, almost forcing runners to sort of wear something that was guiding their foot in a direction that may not necessarily be natural or comfortable for them. And now shoes are really, sort of getting almost stripped down to simplicity and working with the foot, working with the body. And it's sort of your brain telling you, yeah, this feels right for me. This feels good. And consequently, people tend to move a little bit more efficiently when they're in something that's, works with them, as opposed to fighting against their natural movements. So,
yeah, I'm a big fan of trying on a lot of different pairs because
buying a lot of different.
Yes,
pairs.
Tom, I
okay.
have to.
Yeah.
But the thing
Well, I'm
is,
sure you think that.
I think you should buy as many shoes as you want. I
bet you do.
As long as
buy
they're
some
New
New
Balance.
Balance shoes. Yeah. Crystal,
Tom,
you wear what shoes do you wear?
well, right now I wear, I go back and forth between a pair of Hokas and Brooks Adrenaline. And I've been really doing my Brooks Adrenaline because the Hoka, the shoe, like the front of it is too tight for my feet. And I keep getting blisters. And when I was running short periods of time, it was fine. I didn't get that many blisters. But as I've started increasing how long I'm running, the blisters really started to get on my nerves. It was happening all the time, and it never happened in my Brooks. But the reason that I went with Brooks Adrenaline is I went to a shoe store, and I have always had issues with my knees, like my entire life. And I went to a shoe store, and I was like, I'm going to start running. They were like, try these on, because they do have a little of that stability feature that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But I do have pronation, like my feet pronate on their own, just standing there. And so I absolutely love having a little stability, not too much, but I do need some, because if I don't wear something that has some stability in my shoe, then I end up having my knees ache. It makes a huge difference, that and running on the tread plus, as opposed to outside. But even running outside in a pair of shoes that has the stability, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I think that it's stability it's just the form in which it's showing up in footwear designs now, rather than, again, sort of big clunky dense materials on the inside or the medial side of the shoe. You'll see it like the Adrenaline. I actually was the head of marketing and product at Brooks years ago. It might be hard for you to find a brand that I haven't contributed to.
I'm starting to think you just can't hold a job.
Yeah, well, it depends on how you look at it, Tom. I've been told that. Yeah. I like to think that it's because people from other companies would like me to come to work for them because I've done good things, but I'm sure it's a little bit of both. Yeah. So, I mean, Brooks sort of places materials in a way that offers stability without sort of restricting your natural movement. The other thing that's happening in shoes is, and you guys have probably seen it, is this thing called super shoes, right? So
yes, the carbon plates.
This is our version of a super shoe. And really, you can see, obviously shoes have gotten thicker in the midsole, but this actually has, and you'll see this with other brands, this has a full length carbon fiber plate. And so when you wear a super shoe, and different brands have their versions of carbon fiber plates, it literally returns energy. You can feel almost balance in the shoes. It's kind of wild. And unique. So you're always looking for what's the next thing in this world. It's highly competitive. You're obviously living in the past, present, and future all at one time. I mean, our teams are designing products for 2 years out right now. So
I've heard amazing things about those carbon plates, and I feel like I'm always like super skeptical of whether or not it would be good for me because I'm so slow. Like, let me be very clear, because I am like the slowest runner on the planet. And like, you're talking about people that are using these that are really fast runners. I mean, and it's helping them be like a second faster or 2 seconds faster, but like, I'm still going to be at the back. Like, I can't win no matter what. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I hear so many people, like, they love them. They talk about like what you said about the springiness and how it makes their feet kind of still feel fresh, even over long distances and running fast. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I haven't done any personal analysis of my performance in these things, but I just like how they feel. So, like I said,
they feel different?
They feel very different. Yeah, really, really different. And it's cool. And I mean, Tom, you talk about someone who buys shoes. I mean, I am the shoe guy. I've got a pile.
They still make you pay for them? You can't take a pair home?
Well, I'll get very, very large discounts now, but I have so many shoes that I don't even know what to do with. So
you have like
what size do you wear? Maybe you can send some our way.
I'm an 11. Yeah, I'm happy to send you guys some shoes. I will absolutely send you some shoes.
That was just... No, we had some extra laying around and we're the same size. So
yeah, Tom does wear almost exclusively New Balance in all seriousness. Yeah.
Nice.
I moved on. I'm very brand loyal. Before that, I was nothing but kangaroos. That's all I would wear. I liked a little pocket to keep a quarter in case I needed.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I haven't thought of.
Yeah, you get stuck. You need to make a call. Yeah. No, that's great to hear. I mean, we of course are the only brand that's still making shoes here in America.
Really?
So yeah, we have factories. Now, granted, it's not all of our product because we're so big, but yeah, we have factories in the Boston area as well as up in Skowhegan and Norridgewock, Maine, where we do our own cut and stitch product and we assemble product, but we make shoes here in the States. And we do, the majority of our shoes are in widths, 3 to 5 widths. So you'll get, we certainly address the fit concerns of folks. So yeah.
That's really cool.
It's funny. I switched to New Balance a couple years back because we were going to Disney World. And the last time we went to Disney World, my feet really hurt by the end of the trip. And so I was like, I'm going to do some Googling and see like what's the best walking shoe. And cause we all know I'm not going to run in the shoes and, not even if chased, I'll just be like, you know what, you win. You take my wallet, whatever you're going to do to me. And it was a game changer. It was night and day, and it's not, I forget what I was wearing before, but it wasn't like I wasn't like something I found at Buster Brown. It was, it was a name brand shoe. It was a Nike or something like that, and actually it was probably more like a Skechers. That's more my speed, but yeah, it was like I said, game changer, total game changer.
Yeah. And
There's a lot of good shoes out. There's a lot of good brands out there. And by the way, Tom, don't be ashamed to walk.
walking is good for you.
Walking is really, really good for you. And I'm slowly, and I've run 4 Boston marathons. I mean, it's been 10 or 12 years since my last one. I don't know that I'll ever do another one. And I'm a big guy. I check my ego, and I get on a treadmill and I just walk. And now, of course, then I moved to sort of the run walk deals. But I think people tend to try to jump into the running thing too fast, and they get hurt. I often ask people, what percent of runners do you think get injured? So I'll ask you guys, what do you think it is?
100.
Yes. 100%.
It was 100, but I knew it was high.
It's 100%. Now that's my opinion, but Tom, I will argue that to everyone, if you're a runner, you're going to get hurt. You just are. You're going to
get a blister, or you're going to get nipple chafing.
Yes.
Right there, I'm out. No way.
Yeah.
No way am I running.
When you stand at a marathon finish line and watch grown men cross the finish line with bleeding nipples through their shirts, it's a painful ordeal.
There is not a metal cool enough. They need to give you 2, one for each nipple, just to cool them down.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a bad. It's. You get in the shower after those runs. It's a tough one. Yeah. Anyway.
You never know where Tom will take us.
Yeah. No, look, Crystal, you told me. I mean, I've watched you guys many times. I get it. I'm just along for the ride. I'll just try to hold one.
But yeah, I will say New Balance, I was really impressed at the end of the trip. Not even the end, by like day 3, I was like, this is like, in fairness, I was also in much better shape for that trip, but I really don't feel like my physical fitness in terms of having a better capacity for walking long distances really would have a dramatic effect on how my feet would feel.
Right, because it wasn't like his legs were sore and everything. It was just his feet hurt.
Yeah, like the bottoms of my feet felt like sunburn, and it was like I would have to start walking. And once I kind of got up and got moving and got going, I was okay. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm 100 years old. That's
no, look, I mean, we do work locally with there's the Army has their research lab locally, and you can imagine what these guys want to do ultimately, obviously, is they want their soldiers to be safe, and they want them to be healthy, and their feet are incredibly important. You can imagine, of course, carrying all this gear and weight, and it's your ankles and your feet. So footwear is really, really important, whether you're at war or you're walking around Disney. Well, you're at war at Disney, which
it's a different type of war.
Yeah. That is true.
I'm the real hero.
Disney is hard, man.
It is.
I tell people all I ever see when I'm down there, and I've done a lot of work in Orlando, is I see moms and dads fighting and kids crying, and I'm like, this must be Disney, right?
Usually about 2:00 in the afternoon. That's where it's a real shit show.
So no kidding. So does New Balance make shoes for the military?
We do, yeah. We've done work with the military in the past. The military business, as you can imagine, is huge. It's challenging with the specs and the requirements, but yeah, we have done business with the military in the past. We don't do a boot, but we might.
Because they're not Canadian. It's the American military.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't get me in trouble here.
No, because you said a boot, like a boot.
Oh. I got it. I'm sorry.
When you listen to this in a week, you'll be like, that Tom guy's really funny. I didn't realize it at the time.
You completely set me up. That was you got me.
So are there military grade running shoes? Is that a thing?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, there's as you can imagine, there's a lot of specs that go into the durability of the product, the content standards. Obviously, you would expect that they love products that are made in the States here, the material usage. There's a lot of performance needs that
I always think of the military as a boot. You know what I mean?
Like that they would need combat.
This is training, right? So you can imagine, this is boot camps and boots. Right. And it's all about the training. So
I would think it would be difficult to make shoes for the military because they would want more pronation. Come on.
I'm trying to get
pronation.
He's not good with the puns.
Well, it's because he's thinking in real business terms.
Yeah, I gotta get out of this. I thought this was cobbler talk. Now we're
He does this to me all day long. This is how I know what he's doing.
I like that one better than the boot. That's good.
I'm going to save you. So changing back to Peloton, and Tom, you can come up with some more puns while I do this.
Yeah,
going back to Peloton.
I don't want to step on your feet.
Oh,
I mean, it's your shoe.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've worked in the sports industry, but you've worked in the shoe side and the apparel side, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what your thoughts are on Peloton and Lululemon working together in the future, given the settlement that occurred.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually, believe it or not, I've consulted with Lululemon, and one of the things that's interesting is when I was the president of, I mentioned this smaller brand out in Boulder called Newton Running Company. I actually reached out to the folks at Lulu because I was always a fan of their brand, and I knew that they were looking to sort of move beyond the female yogi and get into some running and some fitness, and even start to address the male side of the business. And so long story short, we actually got down the path of a proof of concept with a shoe. And so the idea was that we were going to do a licensing deal with Lululemon. And of course, we're the manufacturers of product, but they were going to, work with us, and we'd stick their logo on it. After I left Newton, they hired me full time to explore the whole footwear side of the footwear business and opportunity for their brand. And I'm sure you're aware of the fact that they now have a footwear business. Mm-hmm. And so I bring that up because, first off, Lulu is a fantastic brand. They're really, really smart people. They're really good at what they do. But at the same time, I think they recognize that there are certain areas of their business that they just don't have an infrastructure. They don't have the expertise. And so they lean on folks like myself and others who were brought in as consultants to help them. I think that's where Peloton needs to be too. So, apparel is hard. It's a really, really, forget about the cost associated with it. Even before you actually start to sell something, all the research, the merchandising, the procurement of materials, the designs, the fit. I mean, there's a lot of work there. I've always felt that Peloton, as fantastic as they are, should continue to work with some of these other brands, specifically in this case in apparel, and let them do it. Let them do it. And how they've done it in the past with not only Lulu, but Rhone and Four Laps, right? And some of these other brands. I don't know I don't know how Peloton is structured from a apparel or accessory merchandising team right now. But my opinion is, work with brands like Lulu and others. I don't know if that relationship is so far gone that they can't bring it back. But, obviously there's going to be a lot of other opportunities out there, but they just need to Peloton needs to get better at merchandising, I feel. And when I say that, I mean how they flow goods to the market, how they forecast, how they buy. You obviously don't want to get overextended, which I think without knowing, but just seeing the amount of markdowns and where they're now liquidating product, which I think is great. Like, get rid of this stuff, get a clean slate and start over, but develop a strategy for what apparel should represent and accessories for their business, and lean on folks who are really good at it, outside, and develop some of the partnerships similar to what I had with as I mentioned, when I worked with Lulu and I was with Newton Running. So I think that they should do what they're really good at and work with the others who are the experts in those areas and then benefit from it.
Yeah.
So that's a long answer. Does that make sense?
It makes
total sense. Focus on your strengths.
Yeah. Focus on the core.
Bring in experts to do the stuff you don't know how to do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people probably feel the same way. So it's not as if I'm coming up with anything that's, mind blowing here. I just think that there's a lot of opportunity, certainly in extensions of their brand and where it shows up, but they just have to control the exposure financially. Inventory is expensive, stuff is, and I think additionally, as a retailer, from my experience, and I'm just throwing out my opinions here, but I think you want to sort of train, and maybe that's the wrong word, but it's how I think. You want to sort of train your customer to want to come back. I think, sell out of goods, sell out. It's okay, and come back with something else and get turns with your customers. I mean, Peloton obviously has a gigantic community of very, very engaged consumers who love the brand. So just develop a strategy and a cadence for how they release goods, manage goods, have key items in line all the time, but come out with some stuff that, take some chances, sell out and learn and just get better. I think they will. Yeah,
I definitely think we're headed in the right direction. And I think that it was a tough time because they used to sell out all the time. And then they got into this, okay, well, let's create these huge releases so people don't get mad all the time. And then right at that time is when everything kind of collapsed. And I just think it was kind of poor timing, but their heart was in the right place. I really believe that. But I definitely agree with you. Long term, the strategy needs to be there.
Yeah, and again, I don't know how they're structured. I'm sure that they're thinking about it. I think, obviously people are posting pictures where they see stuff at TJX or wherever. I'm not really hung up on that. I'm okay with that. I think that just get it, rip the Band-Aid off. Let's baseline our inventory. Let's get a plan in place and move forward. That's again, outsider, understanding of how they're doing their business, but and it's kind of, that's how everybody should be doing it, I think, in many ways.
Yeah.
But it's okay to sell out. It's okay if it's gone.
Yeah, that's true too.
It creates excitement for the next thing. I remember I'm just sitting here watching Crystal do that stuff because I don't do anything. Like people used to get so excited about the next apparel drop, and now it's just like, oh, it's another one. There'll be stuff there. It's not there's not that same
wait for it to go on sale now.
Yeah, there's not a sense of urgency like there used to be. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I agree, Tom. And we're not even really getting into, because I think there's obviously subjectivity around designs, but we're not even getting into that. I mean, I think there's ways that they can evolve designs. Like, for example, I don't necessarily always want a giant Peloton written across my chest, So, I think, or I may not, there's certain colors of things that just should be basics and heritage and in the line all the time. And I don't know that they necessarily, I don't see that. I don't see a sort of a plan that addresses different needs, because as you know, there are people like the three of us who, and I'm sure many folks who are listening and watching, who will buy anything, like we're really into it, right? But there's a lot of people out there who, they want something that's, you just got to think about different customers. There's going to be primary, there's going to be secondary, and at least that's how I always think about briefing product, is identifying who the primary consumer is, who is my secondary consumer. What are we trying to do with this? And some items are not going to be for everybody. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And it makes sense to all have certain items that they're just perennials. LL Bean will always have a barn coat.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
And speaking of, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I agree completely. I think, I'll just mention one thing, Under Armour, of course, exploded on the scene. And I think that I saw Kevin Plank, their founder, speak at a seminar when they were very young in the business, and they were doing really, really well. I think they were doing 90% of their business with 5 SKUs, which were green, black, white, gray, and blue compression short sleeve tops. That's it. Now they had a lot of other stuff, but they were focused on, being this compression top business to start. And I'm not suggesting you streamline your line to that extent, but find out what you're good at and then build from it. So.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I was just going to change gears slightly, well, a lot, but go to products because I wanted to make sure we got to talk about the hoods that you came up with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So is that pronounced Heis? Like as in Heisner? Yeah.
As in Heisner. Yeah. Yeah. So I mentioned that I used to do a lot of cycling. Actually, the other thing I didn't mention, part of why I wanted to start riding on a stationary bike is I was crashing a lot on my road bike. And
it's so dangerous out there. It really is. It's terrifying.
When you turn 50, the last thing you need to do is to fly over your handlebars again. But my experience riding a bike, and then certainly my experience in product design and development in footwear, and especially performance running, where you really have to acknowledge or you recognize and address really the subtleties of design, literally by millimeters, make a big impact on people's posture and how they run and how they feel and how their hips align and so forth. And so when I got my bike, I realized pretty quickly that I felt like my ride posture was less than ideal. And part of it was I was holding the handlebar and my wrist was sort of what's called ulnar deviation. It was just shifted here, and I was locking my elbows, and I didn't feel as if I had an efficient ride posture. And so I started to play around with getting, you guys have probably seen, when you ride on road bike, if you watch the Tour de France, you'll see the majority of the time the riders their hands are on the hoods. Mm-hmm. With the brake hood covers. And so the reason for that is it places your hand in a really more comfortable position, and it allows you to stay more relaxed in your upper body. So it places less strain in your neck, shoulders, and lower back. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to steal the shape of brake hood covers from bikes, and I'm going to make clay versions of them, and then quick dry epoxy and tape them to my Peloton and see what I like. And so I found a shape that I like, and I patented them. And so they're the simplest thing in the world. They literally snap onto the handlebars, and they are in the shape of a conventional road bike brake hood cover. And so they pop on, and this gives your hands a place to rest. And it kind of mimics the experience that you would otherwise find on a conventional road bike. And so I launched Heisman.com, Hizeman.com. And it's kind of a little side gig for me. And people buy them and they love them. So yeah.
It makes sense. I mean, so many people that's the kind of bike that they're used to riding. And so you get on there and you're like, where do my hands go? Like that's the comfort you're used to,
Yeah. I mean, you can achieve that with the bullhorn handlebars that come with the bike. You can certainly achieve that. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of the instructors will suggest that you sort of rest your hands in the corner, right, of the where it bends, which makes sense. I mean, you can do that and stay relaxed. But this is just it's another hand position, so it helps with added comfort. I think it certainly reduces injuries. I mean, like I said, I haven't missed a week since I started riding, and it just improves ride posture. And Mr. Wilpers will say, rightfully, that better. And I'm sure you've heard him talk about ride posture. When you have better ride posture position on your bike, it allows or contributes to greater sustained effort over time because you're actually set up well. It's no different than a running shoe, right? If you're in the right shoe, you're more comfortable. Remember, getting back to my point about something that works with your body, same thing, same principle here. And a lot of this starts with your hands. Of course, you got to set the bike up, right? I mean, we know that bike fit, seat, lever, handlebars, all that has to be set up. But this is just another way to help improve the experience. So yeah, it's been kind of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. And it's probably also nice just to have options in terms of how you can. I mean, I know from when I was a million years ago when I was a kid riding my bike. I mean, sometimes I feel more comfortable like this, and then you want to shift.
Well, you should always on a ride. You should always be moving your hands around. I mean, of course, we don't have drop bars, right? But I ride. I don't ride on the highs hoods the whole ride by any stretch. I'm constantly moving my hands around, and I think that's sort of the how cyclists think about things too. So it's just another option. It's just another option to allow for greater comfort on the ride. And sometimes I cringe when I see the way that people sort of have the Charlie Brown, shoulders. And I just think, oh my God. And I have literally I've seen posts, and I will just send a message to say, I'm going to send you these. Don't ask, just try them. And then please just, so, cause there's a lot of injuries on Pelotons. People are either they're not getting their bikes set properly, or they're not riding properly, and it leads to injuries. So that's something that we always want to try to protect against. So so that's the highs hoods. Yeah, thank you for asking though.
You're welcome. And we didn't ask what your leaderboard name was either.
Well, it's Heisman.
I should have known. I sense a theme.
It's Hizeman, and I was never a Heisman candidate as a football player, but in fact, I never even really got on the field much in college. But yeah, no, Heisman is my the brand name is Heis. The site is Heisman.com. But yeah, so Heisman is my name on the leaderboard.
That's awesome.
And ride 999.
999. Yeah. Do you have a preferred instructor?
I have a lot. I'll tell you some of my favorites for running. John Hosking cracks me up. I love that guy.
And the music, great music.
He is just awesome. I have a daughter who rides the bike also. She lives out in Denver, and we do classes together at times, and we just get the biggest kick out of him. And of course, we love Cody. So, I mean, it's hard to get me to laugh out loud, and Cody will do it at least 2 or 3 times every ride. Yeah, you've seen it.
Because pronation was fun, and here we are. And
I don't know if this is the right. I don't know if this is the right term or not, but I'm going to try to use it.
Okay.
I kind of like the more, everyone's athletic, but I like sort of the more performance athletic instructors like Wilpers. I love Dennis. Alex is great. So those are my guys.
Oriented.
And I love to ride live rides. I really do. I love it. And I wish there were more. That's a bit of a concern for me.
Well, February, we were just talking about this last night. I posted about it. It's January 30th. So when people hear this, they're going to be like, what? This is old news. So it's not old news. We're just recording it by the time you hear this. But I was just looking last night, and February 8th, things really start to change on the schedule. On Wednesday, February 8th, there's like a ride at like 9 p.m. and there's one at 9:35, both Eastern times. Cool. And I say that because there's later rowing. There's just a lot more happening that week. And so I think we're really starting to see things shift. Tunde just announced yesterday that she is going to be part of the strength team officially. So I think there's a lot happening in February. So hopefully, because that same week, they're also back to 6 a.m. classes, 6 a.m. Eastern. So
yeah, I obviously I'm not in the class, but I love live classes. I just do. I don't know why. It feels different to me. So
it's nice. It's nice to feel like everybody's riding together at the same time.
Exactly.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been fortunate to have been in the studio 3 or 4 times over the years, which has been kind of cool. So I'm hopeful on my next trip down to New York to hopefully plan ahead and get lucky and have a chance to ride in there. Cause that's always a cool experience, right?
It is
to be around all those people. It's fun. Really fun.
I love it.
So yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who are just now getting a bike or a tread?
Yeah. I think the important thing is to just check your ego at the door. What I love about Peloton, and this even goes back to Crystal, your question about when I learned about it. This is not a cult; it's a tribe. there's a difference. There's a big difference. And I've managed tribal brands. And so I think people who are in tribes are sort of much more inclusive, and people are really, obviously, go ahead.
I just want to make sure you're comfortable using the word tribe. There's been a lot of negativity about that lately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there has like
cultural appropriation kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, let's skip that.
Okay, you can still
or you can start over and we can cut it out.
Yeah, we can just cut that out. Like, I just wanted to ask you before, like later you heard it and you were like, oh dang, or somebody gave you crap about it, and I didn't want that, so I just thought.
I definitely don't. Yeah, I don't want people to take it the wrong way. My advice to newbies is to, I think you just check your ego at the door. Mm-hmm. What I love about Peloton is that it's the inclusive nature of it. You're not running a gauntlet where you have to walk into a CrossFit class or you have to walk into a gym or even a spin studio. You can do your thing. You can be a part of this. You can feel great. Everyone is incredibly inclusive. And I think that just checking your ego, ease into it. Like there's no reason to get worked up about how hard you're riding. I mean, I used to, and I just don't anymore. And it's enjoyable. We all obviously we're at different places in our fitness level. And, I think it's all about how you feel. And most importantly, what does Christine say? It's most important that you're on the leaderboard, right? Not at the top of it or something like that. I mean, I really believe that. And try a lot of different classes, because there's going to be instructors you don't really dig too much, and there's going to be others you love. And, they're out there. That's why you have so many of them to choose from. And I think that's the beauty of it. So
yes,
for sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely agree with that.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. But before we let you go, just remind everybody where they can find you and all the things.
So the Heisman is spelled Hizeman. So Heisman.com is where the Heis hoods are found. And our Instagram is Heis hoods. So check us out, and we'd love to see you out. Heis Riders is there's not a lot of us out there on Heis Riders, but there's a few that have joined us, and don't forget about New Balance. Check out some New Balance product too. But this has been really fun, guys. I've watched you for some time, whenever I can, and it's always entertaining. And Tom, you kept me on my toes today, so I appreciate that.
It's what I'm here for.
But you've got great shoes for those toes to be in, so it's okay.
Lots of fun. Thank you, guys. So much fun.
Thank you.
Flip out.
So it's back to us. You can tell because it will not be Crystal talking anymore, right?
I'm back.
She's back. So I guess that brings this episode to a close. Thank you so much, Gina, for finally doing the show. You weren't a guest, but you were guest host, which I guess you were just holding out for the real position.
That's right. I wanted the marquee banner with my name on it, even though that's not happening. I hate the circumstances that brought me here.
I was like, I think we're going to need to know where your whereabouts on February 5th at 3 p.m. Central. This is an elaborate ploy for you to get on the show.
Well, like I said, I hate the experience or the circumstances that brought me here, but this has been a very fun experience. Thank you for having me. I feel honored to have been asked to fill in for Crystal.
Well, thank you for doing it on such short notice. And would you like to be found? Would you like to share your leaderboard name or your socials if you care?
Sure. So my leaderboard name is Gene Machine. That's Gene Machine. And I'm not really on social. I'm on Instagram at GIMitch, MITCH. It's mostly pictures of my kids, but they're cute, so why not?
But you are biased.
But they're cute. Come on.
I don't go on Instagram. I wouldn't know. You know how rarely I go on the gram. So
I want to see you liking all my pictures after this.
Well, once again, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. So I guess don't forget, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/theclipout. You can watch us on YouTube if you want to go look at Crystal's bloody pictures. And for our British listeners, I mean literally. that's a dirty word for them. Like we could get labeled with an explicit content thing over there, but I mean literally, she's bloody. You can find those at youtube.com/theclipout. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep pedaling.
And running.
And rowing.
And rowing.
Very good. I was wondering if you were going to... You did it. You did it.
Nailed it.